All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewelz here, ready, locked, and loaded for another very special edition of the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. If this is your first time joining us for the RTJ show, you are now inducted as being a Smart Jewel. Thank you for all of those who have been listening thus far for our fourth season. We are in right now currently and just finishing up, coming on the home stretch for season 4. But if this is your first time joining us, the RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if you are a millennial and if you are a young professional or an entrepreneur that happens to be a millennial or a Gen Zer, we applaud you and appreciate you rocking with us and tuning in to listen to another very special episode. But even if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for all the baby boomers out there. We applaud you and also thank you for rocking with us today. But for those that are listening, you are in for a treat because we have a very dynamic and informative video that is coming soon for our interview today. And so for our guests, especially our VIP future guests, if you're interested in completing our interest form to see if you have what it takes to be on our season 5 or future season episodes, fill out the link that's in the comment section below. We appreciate all of our VIP jewels that are our guests from this current season that have made this show a success. We could not make this show a success without you, or our international podcast a success without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You can listen to our podcast episodes from season 1 all the way to season 4 on all podcast streaming platforms. Just search for the Run the Jewelz podcast and you'll see our cover art with my face on it. You could also catch us on Wisdom and also Clubhouse to listen to some of our Q&A from our Wisdom listeners and Clubhouse listeners to catch the replays. And so shout out to our Wisdom listeners even tuning in today. Wisdom listeners, if you have any questions at any time for my very special VIP guests, feel free to come onto the stage. No question is too outrageous or is too out there. We're going to do our best to have our guests answer any questions you may have on the subject matter. And then for those who are catching us with the live episode, put any questions in the comment section below for our guests, and we'll be able to get to them shortly. And so those are all of my housekeeping. Shout out again for all of our Smart Jewel listeners. We are stepping into our today's episode, how to create a successful crowdfunding campaign. I met this dynamic guest literally at the Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta this last Memorial Day weekend in Atlanta. It was a ton of creatives and also creators and podcasters, especially from all over the U.S. That I came across. But this was a dynamic creator and even a founder, a CEO that I came across in one of the sessions that I was in. And she's actually on the speaking track. She's done tons of presentations speaking on the importance of when it comes to crowdfunding to raise capital for your project, your idea, your vision. And she's even a founder of her own entity. And so without further ado, she hails from the Chi-Town I'm not sure if she's in the Chi right now because she's definitely a global traveler, but shout out to the Chi. But we're going to introduce you to my very special guest, Miss Anna Deshawn. Anna, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Julian. Southside, Chicago, definitely in the building.
Yes, got a rep for the Chi always. Most of my close
Oh,
friends, I think I may have mentioned to you, are either from the Chi, from Detroit, or from California, where I'm originally from, Oakland. So shout out to the Chi all day.
all day, every day, you know.
Yes, and we appreciate you coming on too for our episode today, Anna. What we usually have our guests just introduce themselves to our audience, and so if you don't mind, could you tell us where you're currently streaming with us for today's episode right now, and then also like why is this an important subject matter for you to discuss with our audience today?
100%. Anna Deshawn, Southside of Chicago, founder and CEO of E3 Radio, co-founder and CEO of The Cube. I'm also your favorite queer radio personality, so catch me on TikTok, catch me on the Queer News Podcast Daily, where we look at the intersections of race and sexuality when it comes to politics, entertainment, and culture. I am a person who builds streaming media platforms that center and celebrate BIPOC and QTPOC creatives. And I'm really excited to be talking to Julian today about what it means to fundraise, what it means to monetize, what it means to make the ask, right? It is not easy to go out here asking for money, but capital is very necessary. We can have passions, but we need to be able to fund them as well. So I'm excited to talk to Julian about that, it was so great meeting you, Julian, at Black Pod Festival. So I'm happy to be here with everybody and hopefully share some wisdom and we can shine together.
Absolutely. We appreciate you too, Anna. And I know you're always, of course, wanting to spread knowledge to those who are creators and even those who are entrepreneurs. And you're someone that always is willing to give away the jewels of wisdom. Of course, they have to pay for it a lot of times nowadays, but you're someone that's very personable and also relatable. And so, like, talk to us about, like, how did you even get into wanting to be in the podcasting space or even just wanting to be in the online content creator space? Like, how did you get into that?
100%. I studied radio, television production in undergrad. I went on to get my master's in communications, and the combination of both of those things during the time that the internet was just starting. Like, I was in undergrad when Facebook got started, right? When Facebook was still just for people who had .edu email addresses, right? And so there was this moment that was happening around the internet at that time and around social media. And I was studying communications. I've always loved media. I've always loved the idea of what media can do to have a positive impact on people's lives if used for good. And there were some amazing Black women that I was learning about that I felt like everyone needed to know about. Everyone should know who Ella Baker is. Everyone should know who Fannie Lou Hammer is. Everyone should know who Elaine Brown is. And so I wanted to make it more accessible, that information. So I was like, I can do this. I can do some PSA, syndicate them to college radio stations, get some advertisers, and we can have a college radio network. That's where I started. And that didn't work. College radio didn't work for that particular instance. And so time passed and I just couldn't let it go. So I decided I would start my own show, play my own commercials. So I had my first radio show in November of 2009, specifically to tell the stories of Black LGBTQ folks in Chicago and around the country. And so I've been doing this for a while, but I just love what radio is, and radio has transformed into podcasting. And I wasn't on the podcasting train at the very beginning. We always had an RSS feed because we've always been online. But after a while, I realized podcasting was pretty dope. And I started listening more and I started getting into it. And then I realized discoverability was really challenging. And so it's just evolved over the last 10 to 12 years from the radio station and serving folks in that capacity to today, where we're looking to evolve into podcasting and solving the problem of discoverability when it comes to not only indie podcasts, but specifically Black folks podcasts, Indigenous people podcasts, people of color people's podcasts. You know, where can we find that content that's really good but completely buried? And so we're looking to solve that with the Cube app. So I'm excited to talk about that, and then also how we've been able to fund it to date.
Absolutely. And you always are very, very much so. From when I've seen you, especially on social, very much so. Your presence exudes a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. And so I could definitely tell you come from a radio, especially background, broadcasting background. I actually went to Hampton University to study radio broadcasting, but ended up graduating at a PWI here in Georgia with English and professional writing. But I could always tell those individuals that have that radio persona or even that broadcasting persona. So shout out to all the broadcasters and also those who are still in the entertainment space of radio and broadcasting. And so stay with that point too, Anna. Who are some of the people that you looked up to earlier on in life? Did you have any particular mentors or heroes that were in this space already, or did you want to create or tailor your lane based off of someone else before? Like, talk to us about who inspired you when you were growing up.
100%. That's so easy for me. Okay. Robin Roberts is the one and only hero of mine, really, in the broadcasting space. I mean, I give my flowers to Kathy Hughes, 100%, to Oprah, right? Gayle King, like, these people have been in the game, right, for years. But Robin Roberts for me was it. I grew up a gym rat. I played sports my entire life. And so I was actually going to school to be a sports broadcaster. That's what I wanted to do. So I was studying what it meant to do, like play-by-play and color announcing. And she was it. She was the only Black woman on ESPN when I was growing up, right? She was everywhere during the Olympics. She was doing football. She would be ABC Sports. She was just interviewing all the people I wanted to talk to. I wanted to be her. So she was my shero 100% growing up. And in undergrad, I quickly realized, though, that who I am did not fit the mold for television. And when I say that, I mean, there aren't masculine or center folks on your television screens, you know, giving you the news or reporting on your sport. There are people who who are, you know, identify as women, but wear suits or a tie or a button-up shirt. It's just not the look. I don't wear makeup, you know, those are things I just didn't do. And so I felt like television wasn't going to work for me. I ended up getting an opportunity to turn on Tom Joyner in the morning during undergrad and do the weather and the traffic. And I loved it. I loved it. People would call into the radio station and say, I love your voice. I love your energy. And I was like, oh, this is the lick. I can sit here, talk to thousands of people and no one has to see me. And it was in that moment that I realized the power of radio on a grander scale. And I fell in love with it. It started hosting college radio shows and I got hooked. And so for me, that's when my love for radio really began. And gosh, it would absolutely be Robin Roberts, 100%.
Yeah, it's a lot of tycoons and a lot of trailblazers that are in that space too, especially when it comes to, as you mentioned, the sports versus even the traditional radio sense. It's a ton of trailblazers that we could definitely pay homage to. And we all have looked up to at least one of the elders or even potentially the ancestors that may have passed on that set the tone for individuals that look like myself and Anna to step in to a space, especially when it comes to communication. And so, Anna, we're going to give you a quick commercial break so we can highlight our VIP sponsor. Each and every episode for season 4, we highlight a VIP sponsor who is a business or a partner, affiliate partner that we partnered with. And so let's take a look and see who our VIP sponsor is for today, you all. Let's take a look. shout out to our VIP sponsor for today. Comes from none other than ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is our VIP affiliate sponsor for today. If you're someone that travels abroad, or even if you travel domestically and you're looking for a VPN to still tap in to your country's internet network or server, Express is definitely a stable product that we use and even our team uses when we travel abroad in order to access our country's internet server. And so you can receive a 30-day free VPN trial by clicking on the link that we're putting in the comment section below. And literally, you'll be able to tap into ExpressVPN and also be able to have a great travel experience by being on their network. And so shout out to ExpressVPN as our VIP sponsor for today. But back to you, Anna. We definitely wanted to dive into how did you get started with wanting to even be a founder? We talked to quite a few business owners and also small startup companies here on the podcast, but literally in order to be a founder means that you have a team of people together that you've already put into place in order to make your vision a reality. So like, what got you into wanting to found your own entity? And then like, how did you see your entity being different from others that may be in that same space as you?
So I've always been a leader, and my mom has lots of stories about this. I think, leadership is something to be learned, but it's also something that can just be in you. And so that's just always been me. And so anytime there's been something wrong or I've seen something I thought was wrong, I've wanted to fix it or figure out how we can change it. And that's just always been at the essence of who I am. And anytime I took any of those surveys where it does like the personality test, it would always tell me that I had the personality to be an entrepreneur or a founder or work for myself. And I've always been someone who's challenged too, whatever the rules were, or, wanting to know why we were doing something a certain way. And thinking about those who may not be able to be accommodated by whatever rules or regulations or what have you were being put into place. So that's just always been my jam. It's just always been who I am. And so as I was coming into myself and coming into my own identity and just realizing how marginalized Black queer folks are in this country, I wanted to do something about it. And it just made sense with my love of media to use media to do that. And during my time of study, I realized just how powerful the internet was, how small the world could become by connecting us through the internet. And so having an online radio station for me meant I could talk to anybody around the world, not just by whatever, radio transmitter could reach just my city radius, right? So that was really at the heart of it. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to educate folks, enlighten folks, entertain folks. That is actually what the 3 E's stand for in E3 Radio. And that has been my mission, to create content that actually matters and to tell the stories that deserve to be heard and to play the music that deserves to be heard. And that's at the heart of it. So today, that looks like the radio station being available 24/7 from our website. It looks like us creating the Cube, where you'll be able to listen to E3 Radio on the go, where you can discover amazing podcasts by BIPOC and QTPOC creatives, some of the best. And I say that because we have curators actually listening and rating these podcasts. Like, this is some of the best content out here that you just cannot find anywhere else. And so I'm motivated by that. I'm motivated by disrupting this space and challenging folks to look at folks who are indie, look at the folks who identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, and amplify them. Give them the platforms and the flowers that they deserve, because it takes a lot of work. Okay, this is not for the faint of heart, and to do it well and to do it consistently. And I think we can do that. I believe we can do that with the Cube and with everybody's support. I think we can create something really amazing. I think oftentimes we don't remember television before BET. What was television before BET, right? It was not what it is today. And so I believe we have the opportunity to do that in podcasting and create a space where you can find the best. That's my hope.
I love it. I love it. And Anna, we literally just have a guest that came on for you for wisdom. And so I'm gonna bring them in and let them speak to you for a second. So guest on wisdom, where
Oh, I think I also selected to be your guest. I didn't know if that would help.
That's Anna. We appreciate you. Shout out to wisdom, you all. I was like, we got Anna up on here for wisdom. Shout out to Anna up on here. But we are literally streaming directly and also talking to Anna and other guests through wisdom. If you are on the Wisdom app, definitely make sure that you tune in to each and every Tuesday. We are going live and also our pre-recording episodes through Wisdom. And so shout out to Wisdom also to you all. But we're here with my very special guest, Anna Deshawn. So stay with that point too, Anna. I was about to say, I was like, somebody came on for Anna. They must want to ask some questions, but we appreciate coming on.
But I didn't know how it worked. I was just see, this is what founders do. You just click buttons, just you just figure it out as you go. I mean, it's the curiosity of the thing.
Absolutely. So. Wisdom is a good tool for those that are listening on the Wisdom. Y'all know how important wisdom is to coaches, consultants, mentors, and even those who are business professionals. But stay with that point too, Anna. We wanted to make sure people learn about, like, how did you even get to find out ways to fund your passion, which turned into your purpose? Because I know you spoke about that at the conference, and I was in your session, and even when we spoke before you had actually gone to speak, I was like, yeah, I definitely am railroading my other session that I was going to go to and are going specifically to your session because I wanted to hear the jewels that you had learned along the way for funding your passion to turn it into your purpose. And so talk to us about that point. How did you get to even learn how to fund it?
100%. So I really learned about fundraising during my volunteer experience at nonprofits, right? So I think I start there because that's at the heart of where I learned how to be a leader. It's at the heart of what I learned what community really means and how community shows up, and how I also learned how to make an ask, right? It was during my nonprofit work. So I've served on quite a few boards and done the work for many years. And there is something special about making an ask to someone, and it can give you so much anxiety. No one likes asking for money, right? Maybe except for a handful of us, okay? But it can be learned. You can learn how to make an effective ask and how to put together an effective campaign to monetize, right? So you need to know how much you're trying to raise, what is the goal, right? That's first and foremost. Then you need to know your why. Why in the world are you doing this? Because it's a whole heck of a lot of work. And so to embark upon something and not know your why, you have lost before you have even gotten started. So set your goal, but then also understand why you're going to put all this energy into it, because it's a whole heck of a lot of work, right? So figure out your why, and then let's go into strategy. We got to strategize this thing. A campaign may start on August 1st, but there are 45 days worth of work, at least 45 to 60 days worth of work before August 1st to make sure that you have a successful campaign for the next 30 to 45 days. Okay. So for me, it was about really sitting in my why, understanding who my audience is, understanding who may resonate with my message, understanding who cares about my message, reaching them, right? And sharing my goal. Sharing. We share a lot today on social media, but sometimes it can be really superficial. But when you talk about folks giving away their money that they earned, folks taking away money from their own households to give to you, it's an honor, right? But it's also an opportunity that you're offering them to support you in your goals and in your dreams and in your aspirations. And people get a lot of joy from giving, right? So I get a lot of joy from giving. Other people get a lot of joy from giving. But oftentimes I give when I'm asked. And so you have to think about that. When do you give to something? When the Girl Scouts show up at your door with a box of cookies, right? Would you have just gone out to buy the box of cookies? Or are you waiting for the Girl Scouts to show up to you? Right. I mean, that's just another example, just a real world example of what it means to make an ask. And I think that oftentimes we don't know how to do that effectively. And so in my course and in what I was talking about at Black Pod Festival was what it means to make an ask is to be clear, and it's to challenge how much they may be able to give you, be able to explain why they would want to support you, what is going to go towards, right? And giving them a quick, easy way to do it. There's so many tips to go along with this as well, but it is about just tapping into your networks of people that are around you. You can't count other people's money. You know, people be like, I'm broke. But then you see, right, they went and got them Jordans. They didn't got a new car. They're doing renovations on their house. People spend money on what they want to spend money on, right? And so you have a network of people who are willing to spend money on you. You just don't know it because you've never asked them. And I think people get a lot of joy from giving, and you're giving them the opportunity to tap into that joy. So you really have to stay in that mindset. You really got to understand what it means to accept a no, okay? Because I got so many no's. I still get no's. Entrepreneurship is all about no's, okay? And it is exhausting, and it will wear you out. It will wear you out. But the yeses will fill you up, right? The yeses will fill you up. Your why will fill you up. You need a why to give you the energy to wake up in the morning and keep doing what you're doing, okay? The goal should keep you fueled, all right? So you got to tap into that too. I feel like I've been talking a lot, Julie.
Oh no, we got some master teachers that we let teach on the podcast, but definitely you're dropping a ton of jewels. Anna's literally giving y'all the blueprint in how to fund your passion, you all. And crowdfunding is one of the best ways, especially for content creators and even for those who are startup entrepreneurs or startup business owners. Crowdfunding is a very tried and true way. And for those, Anna, who may not even know what crowdfunding is, like break down, like what is crowdfunding, and also how can people access crowdfunding campaigns?
Sure. Crowdfunding simply means that you got a crowd of people around you that's giving you some money. And I think that can come in a lot of different ways. So traditionally, people are used to seeing GoFundMes or Indiegogo campaigns, for example. There's lots of those platforms that are out there that are very helpful. And you need to do your research on them because all of them are a little bit different when it comes to their fees and what they take and what they hold and when they release money. So you got to do your research on those. Then also, as you well know, Julian, when it comes to podcasts, a lot of people, for creators, use Patreon, right? Or a ConvertKit type of situation to help monetize. That too is crowdfunding. You've got a group of people coming together to help support an effort, right? And it doesn't look like, it doesn't always, let me not say that. It does not always look like $1,000, donations. It looks like $5 a month, right? A coffee a month. It could look like $10 a month, right? It could look like $20 every 3 months, once a quarter, right? But that, for creatives, that income that they can depend on is a game changer, right? Because all this stuff costs money. No matter how passionate I am, no matter how much I feel like I'm called to do this work, that does not keep my lights on, right? But the monthly givers on a Patreon or a ConvertKit or whatever platform you choose to use gives me some security in knowing I got this support and I got this money coming in to be able to cover this membership or this trip I need to go on, or, whatever that it is. I need a new microphone for my podcast, or I need this new piece of equipment. You can cover it because of these amazing supporters that have come together to support your work, ongoing. So crowdfunding means there's a group of people willing to fund your campaign or your project.
Absolutely. And there's tons of crowd funds that you can literally donate. And even Anna, like tell them, even when it comes to what are the benefits of crowdfunding? Do you get certain stake in certain companies? Do you get some free merchandise? Like, what are some of the benefits for those that do fund campaigns?
Yeah, so I think there's a few benefits, and there are those tangible benefits that you mentioned. Like there are crowdfunding campaigns that give you rewards, right? That's the kind of crowdfunding campaign I did with Indiegogo, was that we gave away rewards, but the rewards didn't have to cost us money, right? So
Right.
crowdfunding, people think, oh, I need to give somebody a t-shirt. Do you want a t-shirt? Do you want another t-shirt in your closet? Probably not. So it's probably not something you also want to give away. It also costs a lot of money to buy. So right, you don't want to raise money and then have to give that money away because you've given these rewards that cost a lot of money, right? People want to buy into your business, right? Or your idea. And you've got lots of ideas that you can give them access to. That it's access for them, right? So think about things that don't cost you money when it comes to the rewards too. If you're the creator of a crowdfunding campaign, think about giving access maybe to a private podcast, right? Where you're giving your own takes that everyone else doesn't have access to. Think about other rewards that you can give them from your partners that may have conferences coming up, and what like discounts on solutions that may serve their particular needs. Think outside the box when it comes to rewards, because they don't always have to be these tangible gifts that you give back to people, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, there are a lot of people who do that, right? And so that is one thing that people who give to crowdfunding campaigns can receive. You also mentioned like the equity-based type of crowdfunding, which is very popular right now. And I always use the example of Fanbase. And if you don't know Fanbase, definitely go check out Fanbase. I think Isaac Hayes is definitely onto something with that. He has created a platform where monetization is at the heart of it. Subscriptions are at the heart of it. It's the whole point is that creators get paid. He raised like $1 million on Start Engine and it's equity based. And so you bought in, you donated, and then you bought a piece of the company in return, right? So there's a lot of equity based platforms today that function just differently than a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo campaign, but also have a lot of value, right? So I think that too is an option for some people if it fits your model.
Yeah. And literally being able to get stake in a company, because I've seen on LinkedIn, Anna, just like you were mentioning, certain tech startups, they like once you get to the $5,000-$10,000 mark, they actually are banking on, of course they don't have it in possession just yet because they haven't blown up, but they're like trying to give away early stakeholding positions in certain companies. So I'm like, dang, it's actually where you could become not just a regular investor from the startup, but you could actually literally be a stakeholder in certain tech companies or even in certain companies. And so like, that's a major benefit. And I know you came from, as you mentioned, I also come from a nonprofit and even educational background. Like, how did you learn certain techniques excuse me, and tactics to fundraise? Because I know fundraising is a huge department in most nonprofits, especially large ones like Boys and Girls Clubs is where I actually worked at. They had a whole department for resource and development, aka fundraising. And so like, talk to those who may not know about like how to gain resources for their project or for their campaign. Like, what were some tactics and some strategies that you used that you had learned before?
Yeah, so we attended lots of workshops around fundraising. Fundraising is a whole mood. Okay, there are strategies and best practices that come along with running successful fundraising campaigns. And to your point, Julian, right, the Boys and Girls Club of America has a whole strategy, a proven strategy that works for them, right? You can see the American Red Cross, they got their whole strategy that works for them and teams to help execute it, okay? Because at the heart of it, fundraising also is about relationships. And so you have to build relationships with people. You have to have the energy and the interest and the curiosity to want to talk with people. People want to invest and support people that they like, not ideas. And so don't get it twisted, right? You don't take yourself out the equation. They are giving to you. right? Especially if it's not an equity-based situation, they don't think they're gonna get something out of it on the back end. They know they ain't getting their money back, right? And so, for example, like I run an LLC. I don't run a 501c3. I learned this in 501c3s, but I am an LLC and a C corp. So they're not getting anything in return other than the support of me and the joy that they get from that. So the number one tool is learning how to be in relationship with people. What does it mean to do that? It means you send people notes. It means you send people text messages. It means you check on people. It means they don't just hear from you when you asking for money. Okay. It means that you're giving updates. It means that they are staying up and they're following what you're doing. Like, this life is about relationships. And I think that is the one thing we miss out on. I don't care what level of education you have. There was never a course on networking. There was never a course on how you can build in relationships. How do you do that? How do you go into a room and go around introducing yourself? There's no course on this, but it is essential to life. You know, there's always these stories on television you watch, like everybody goes to the golf course, right, to get business done. What does that sound like to you? They are building relationship. They on that golf course for 3-4 hours, depending on how many holes they playing, right? 3-4 hours of time you are spending with someone. And as an adult, you realize how precious that time is. What do you do with 3-4 hours of your day? You taking care of your family, you working on your business. Time is something you can't get back. It's precious. So if they out on the golf course for 3-4-5 hours at a time, eating, drinking, being active, talking, family, business, you get to know somebody. It is relationship building. That's where they build relationships. And so that is at the heart of what somebody's going to give to you. I think that is the number one tool, is that you have to learn how to be in relationship. Yeah. And that comes along with saying thank you. That comes along with sharing your experiences. I think that's one of the number one tools.
That's some major jewels that Anna is dropping on us for literally the heart of fundraising, you all. And especially even if you haven't worked in a nonprofit or even a private organization, you need to learn how to, as you said, fundraise, and also how to sell, which goes into like a next pivot. Like, Anna, talk to us about like how should entrepreneurs and even people who are fundraising, how should they be able to get past the no's? Because our generation, especially of millennials and even certain Gen Zers, may get taken back by getting told no 1,000 times before they get that one yes. But how would you recommend someone who is just starting off for the first time in selling or in fundraising to get past that? They're not necessarily telling you no, that you don't matter, but that it's just not right for them in that exact moment to literally give, but to get past that and to not automatically take yourself out the game. Like, what are some jewels or advice that you would give to those that struggle with no?
Is understanding you're not alone. Understanding it's not odd for you to feel low after getting a no. I think people really try to they lessen the impact to try to make a point, but no's hurt. No's deserve time. You deserve time to mourn a no. You deserve time to cry over that no. You deserve time to grieve over that no, and don't take it lightly, right? But then once you do that, then it's your opportunity to also move on, right? To not let it take you out. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Do not allow the no to take you out the game. I've heard so many no's, and no's have different levels. Okay. There is the no that maybe you were expecting. There is the no that you weren't expecting, right? And there is the no that you just didn't see coming. Give it its space, give it its room that it deserves, and then tap into whatever grounds you so that you can let it go. For me, my grounding happens in my prayer and meditation corner. It happens when I journal. It happens when I have time to listen to some music that is inspiring to me, that allows me to refocus and remember my why and remember my purpose and remember my goals. And then that can fuel me to be able to go forward and receive more no's and stay open to receive all the yeses. that are on the way, right? You got to believe that the yeses are on the way. Our tongue has a lot of power, and our energy has a lot of power and impact. And so you've got to protect that. But you can't, but don't think you just need to dismiss it, right? You don't have to dismiss the no's. You can own the no. I'm owning a lot of no's right now myself. Okay. I'm speaking to you because I've been speaking to myself. But I also know that the yeses are on the way, that the blessings don't stop, that God still got my back, that God wouldn't have brought me this far to leave me now, that I believe that I am called to do this work. I believe I'll figure it out. Okay. I believe that there's a table being prepared for me. Right. And so you got to stay motivated. You got to stay fired up. And that's why that why is so incredibly important. You got to believe that you'll figure it out, that you'll figure a way, and that your yes is coming. Right. So I think that that's at the heart of it.
Yeah, and that's a great jewel in itself, because a lot of people get taken out by the no that I know, Anna, and they just literally give up on a project versus learning how to pivot or learning how to transition or shift their strategy, which goes into another key thing that I know you can tell people, like, how is your support system, whether it's your family, whether it's your loved ones, whether it's your friend circles. How have they either helped with the process for the crowdfunding campaign, or even what may be some struggles or hurdles that you had to overcome when you were fundraising for your campaigns earlier on around your circle or your network of influence?
You definitely need people around you that are cheering you on. You definitely need to tell people what you're doing. Don't keep it to yourself. You got to scream it from whatever mountaintop you use, whether usually it's a social media platform, you know. But I think there's also a lot of value in picking up the phone. I call people, and I'm a millennial. Okay. I'd much rather text all day. I feel like I'm talking to you when I'm texting. Okay. So I'd much rather do that. But everyone is not that, right? You got baby boomers who will prefer a phone call, who prefer a letter in the mail, a postcard even, right? And so you got to think about who is your audience, what's the best way to communicate with them, and reach them in that way. So for me, my core group of people were just encouraging, like, let's go, let's hit these goals, let's keep it going, let's get motivated. How are we doing today? How many people are we reaching out to today? How many yeses did we get today? How many people we need to follow up with today? How many no's did we get today? You got this. Like, I had that throughout the entire time. And sometimes you expect people to help. You'd have no expectations around people being able to help you achieve this fundraising goal. Okay. You are the one who is bringing this thing to life. This is what you are motivated to do. And so to have someone else who is that motivated is probably, it's probably not possible. It just probably isn't. This is your baby. So you got to make it happen. But you got to have a core group of people around you who are cheering you on the whole way, because you need someone. They're gonna chime in right when you need them. Right when you're feeling kind of low, you're going to get that text and be like, you're right. I got this. Right. So for me, my core group of folks were everything in that regard. It would have been better maybe if I had someone that could also ask or call folks. Sure. And they'll do their best, but they got things they want to ask them people for, right? They got their own projects that they need funding for. And so you got to have a core group of folks who you believe you can share your deepest, darkest secrets with, who you can cry to and that good stuff. And you need people who are going to cheer you on, to get you past those no's and cheer on those yeses. That's absolutely important.
Yeah, and that's a key jewel in itself right there, which goes with a lot of the goal setting and goal planning, as you know, as a fundraiser at heart. Like, did you set any personal goals that once you got to a certain level that you would turn up the heat a notch, or did you set benchmarks at the beginning before you started the campaign? For those that may have never fundraised before, like, tell us about your goal fundraising process.
Definitely. So I definitely started 45 days out prior to the actual start of the campaign. I wanted to secure $20,000 in funding before we got started with commitments from people, because our campaign ran for 30 days. My goal was $70,000. They say you should secure at least 25 to 30% of your goal before launching. And so I knew how much work I needed to do beforehand. I also knew folks need to budget, right? I'm not coming from no trust fund. I come from a working middle class family. Okay, hardworking people. I come from a very privileged place, but ain't nobody got thousands of dollars sitting around, hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting around. Nobody got trust funds sitting around just can drop, $70,000 in my lap. All this money was not gonna come from one person. Okay. We talking about getting $5 from 200, 300 people, right? I mean, we had to strategize on that. So recently I got married, right? So I had my wedding list, and that was where I started. I started with that Excel document because clearly those are the people I care about and who care about me if I was going to invite them to my wedding. So I was like, this is where I should start with my fundraising campaign. Let me make a column for how much I think I can ask each person based upon what I know about them. And whatever number I had in mind, I tripled it. And I made a list and saw and added it up in my Excel document to figure out how much money that actually was. Then I had to go back through and see who I missed. What are my circles? Where are my people at? My church people over here, my school people over here, my work people over here, my nonprofit people over here, my mama and daddy church people over here. We got to write everybody's names out, put them into a working document. Get their email addresses in there, get their phone numbers in there, right? Put a column in there, how much you think they may give you, and then get a column on how much you've actually confirmed they will give you, and then make a column for when they plan on sending it, because people got to budget. People have to budget for big gifts, right? We're trying to hit a $70,000 number. So I was calling people asking for $500, asking for $1,000. That is not going to happen on that next paycheck. That ain't gonna happen tomorrow, right? People got to wait. They got to save. They're intentionally putting money aside for you, right? Over the next couple of months so that they can hit the goal and give it to you during your time frame. And fundraising campaigns have ebbs and flows. And so I knew I wanted to start strong to show how much support we had. So that planning had to start 45 days before. And I had to ask people, could you give on the first week? Could you give on the first day? To help us get off to a strong start, because over the 30 days, you'll have a really strong beginning. It'll level off in the middle, right? While you're still being diligent about posting on social and keeping people updated, but people see you, but it kind of lulls out. It kind of might drop a little bit, but people are ready at the end. Okay. People want to see you win, right? People get motivated by seeing people win. So the end, that last 3 days, it will skyrocket, right? But you got to be prepared. You got to do all the work from the very beginning. And I'm talking 45 days before the campaign even starts. You got to lay all the work so people are ready when you get to the end. They don't want to miss it. They want to be part of the win. They want to be part of the win. So you got to give them opportunity. And you got to know at the end it's going to skyrocket, right? Now, oftentimes you'll see people and they'll be like, we're going to extend it for 2 more days. That was not like an impromptu decision. That was a planned decision to extend it a few more days to give people a little bit more opportunity, right? To help you hit your goal. And people want that. So for me, that was the strategy that I used. Was 45 days before, I made also a column for how I was going to contact people. Some people I could reach through email. Some people I knew I needed to call. Some people I knew I could text. Some people I knew they didn't want to call. They want to text. All right. And so I met people where they were.
Yeah, no, that's a major jewel, that they want to see you win. Most people don't want to see you fail or hate on you like we see all the time with media outlets, but they want to see you win, you all, like Anna pointed out. And so I know Anna's dropping a ton of jewels, you all, even myself, even hearing her do this presentation a second time. Literally, I'm catching a ton of jewels from Anna, even myself. But I know we definitely have come to the final jewels segment of our interview, Anna, where we allow you as our guest to leave a final jewel of wisdom. I know we've talked about how you started your crowdfunding campaign, which turned into, of course, your passion, which is now your business project that you are continuing to build from the ground up as a startup founder. And then even we talked about some of the hurdles that you dealt with at the beginning. What would be a jewel or a final jewel that you would want to tell our audience when it comes to raising a successful crowdfund campaign?
You got to be committed. If you don't hear anything else from me today, you gotta tap into another level of commitment when it comes to fundraising, because it hits on some very personal pieces, right? How do you think about money? How did you learn about money? How do you deal with your own money, right? Because that's how you will approach fundraising. If you believe there is abundance out here, you will approach fundraising like there is an abundance out here that I'm going to get. If you have any limiting thoughts or self-defeating behaviors, that will absolutely land into your fundraising campaign as well, and that will take you down. So you really do have to have an abundance mindset, that there is enough out here for you, that there's enough out here for everybody. And that will help to keep you going. I think if there was a jewel, it would be to be committed in that way, be committed to the abundance mindset, and that you will win, and that there is enough out here for you. I will say that has really helped to keep me going. We've been at this now. I quit my full-time gig last year in February. It was a full-time career I quit. We've been at this now for 1.5 years, and I'm still pumping. Okay, we still going. And we had a tough month. This has been a tough month. I tell you no lies, okay? But we ain't gonna give up. We ain't got time for that. So you have to just stay committed. Be committed, be courageous, be creative, right? And good things will come to you. Good things will come to you.
I love it. I love it. Stay committed to the process, because you wouldn't have started if it was going to be all the hurdles and all the ups and downs and the even flow that people think it's going to be. It's all a part of the journey, like Anna is saying. Anna, like, how can we support you? I know I've already talked to you offline about ways that I can support you and partner, but how can our audience support you, and how can they stay in touch with you after today?
One thing you can do, if you've got a podcast out there and you identify as a Black creator, an Indigenous creator, a person of color creative, are you Latinx? Are you AAPI? I'm talking to you. I would love for you to consider joining the Cube, where we will be the #1 destination for the best BIPOC and QTPOC podcasts. I would love for you to submit your podcast into the Cube for curation. Join us on this journey. So if you identify as BIPOC, if you identify as a queer trans person of color, submit your podcast to curation. Visit our website, thecubeapp.com. That's THEQUBE.app, and submit your podcast today. That's #1. Second thing you can do is you can follow us on social media, whatever social media platform you enjoy. We are there. Okay. Follow us, share our content, tell a friend, right? We know today podcasting discoverability is fueled by word of mouth. All right. So tell a friend about the Cube, because we want to be your destination to find the best BIPOC and QTPOC content. So those are the top 2 ways you can support us today. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the time so much, Julian.
Absolutely. Y'all go and support Anna. She's a dynamic founder and leader that is doing major work, not just for our community, with those who are Black and brown, but even for all creators, and especially those who are entrepreneurs at heart. She and her team for sure are going to see your process and see your journey all the way through as being a content creator. And so, Anna, I'm gonna say a quick prayer over you, thanking you for coming on to sharing your jewels of wisdom with us, and then we'll let you enjoy the rest of your day, if that's okay.
That sounds wonderful.
Perfect. Father God, I just want to thank you for Anna. I thank you for her passion, and most importantly, her patience, Father, that you are continuing to keep her on the journey, continuing to show her new avenues, even new strategies, and even new partnerships that can help take her to the final destination. We thank you for all the wisdom that she's been able to sow into our audience and even myself today. We pray that you will bless her and also her future projects and her future partnerships 100-fold with new doors, new opportunities, and even new donors and new clients that are going to partner with her along this journey. I thank you and I love you, Father, and give you all the glory and continue to cover both myself and Anna and all that we do. And it's in Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
We appreciate you, Anna, coming on. We definitely have to do a part 2 if you have time. I know you've been busy rocking and rolling, but I'm sure people would love to hear how things have progressed at a later date. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your jewels with us today.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to come back. And thank you so much for this platform and give me the opportunity to share the vision with everybody. So please follow me at Anna Deshawn across social media. And for all my wisdom people, I just joined Wisdom like literally a couple days ago. So feel free to follow me on there. I'll continue to leverage that platform as well. And so I just look forward to getting to know everybody. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Shout out to Wisdom too. And we'll be in touch, Anna. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Latest.
All right, y'all. I'm going to do a quick wrap up for the episode. If you've enjoyed today's episode, feel free to sow a seed with us. There's 2 main ways to sow. You could either Cash App us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can click the link in the comment section to become a monthly Patreon with us. No seed is too small or too large. You're sowing into good soil in order for us to continue with our international podcast and production equipment, especially that we use, such as the one we're using today. Shout out to StreamYard, which is the entity that powers our podcast. You can also receive an exclusive $10 off discount by clicking on the link that we're putting in the comment section. It is a very stable and also diverse streaming platform. And they even have online communities on Facebook and especially on other social media platforms that you can ask and also get Q&A answers for how to be a successful streamer on Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. And they're not on IG yet, but if you're on any of those platforms, especially, and you're wanting to learn how to stream, definitely look into StreamYard. And so some final jewels for thought. You have to put money behind your passion. You have to put money behind your purpose. You can't just be talking about it. You have to walk it out and actually be about that work. Like you've been hearing the theme this whole season. You have to put in that work early in order to be able to be under the shade of the trees and to eat the fruit off of those trees that you planted early on. You can't be afraid of putting in that work and also seeing your vision all the way through. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be all roses, especially if you are a millennial or Gen Zer. We know social media has a lot of stop the cap with people be trying to act like they're not going through struggles on their own journey and that they're literally having the end game already taking place. But social media is literally a tool, and a lot of people do be capping on social media. And so we know that your journey is meant for you. Your plan that Yah has over your life is meant for you. And so you have to walk it out and not be afraid to walk it out. And so stay connected with us also, too, if you want to receive any podcast coaching or even podcast admin assistance. Visit www.smartjewelsenterprises.org to get started on your podcast today. And we'll see you all next week. Stay hydrated, stay blessed, and make sure you shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be.